My favorite part about being a woman in our industry is the element of surprise. Believe it or not, it's 2021, but there are still people who are absolutely shocked that women are in this industry. It has been known as to be a very male-dominated industry. I'm very fortunate to have our company a 50-50 ratio. So we have women in the field, women in the office, women running jobs. So it gives me a lot of pride and joy that there are so many women joining our forces in this industry, and I love it.
It's being able to help other women navigate through the loss process. Many times women will call our office asking for advice, and they feel more comfortable talking to me as another woman.
We are a value add. We have different approaches and skills and even gifts, and blending that in a male-dominated field can be magical. There are so many ways to shine in this industry, from field work to management to education and training. No matter where you are in your current career path, there is a place for you in this industry to shine and grow. You'll be in the company of some great women, incredible women supporting you along the way that blaze the trails, and they're still doing the thing.
The fact that we actually have opportunities. I am in an area where when you have a female PM on a project, it's interesting. People are interested, clients are interested. They want more females on these projects. And we also have the opportunity of being a woman-owned business, which usually you can gain additional projects, county work, city work. I think that women are generally really good problem solvers. And what happens when a problem comes up, I personally will just jump in head first, and I realize that I don't really have a fear filter because I can go into problem solving mode and go fix the problem. So I enjoy a lot of that drive and passion to jump into problem solving mode without letting the fear kick in.
We are in an industry full of people who care a lot about what they do and take a lot of pride in it. That's a really lucky thing that we can say that we're a part of and that we are the future of.
My favorite part of being a woman in restoration is helping others. I've been able to follow in my dad's footsteps. He founded our business in 1960, and also it gives me an opportunity to be a reliable contractor when people are faced with a disaster.
The diversity of the industry itself and how welcoming it is for everybody in a very diverse way, but also from backgrounds. Many of us who enter restoration have come from all different industries, and it really becomes a melting pot where we can take our skills and our strengths and excel.
The fact that I get to have such an effect on other people's lives, whether it's, I'm out on a fire job actually doing contents and doing the job with the homeowner, or I'm traveling to another company and training their staff. I just can't think of anything that I'd rather be doing, and I feel privileged and really fortunate to have had a career that I accidentally fell upon in my life. I think being a woman in this industry really gives me the opportunity to bring things to the table that maybe others can't. Like, I'm a wife and a mom and a nurturer, and I get to come into my job every day and be able to bring those things to the table. And in fact, I think that's what makes me really good at my job, is the fact that I am a woman.
I really appreciate it when men hold the door for me and that gentlemen still exist. And when things are super heavy, there's usually more muscle to help me pick something up. So being a woman in restoration, sometimes I get out of having to haul a bunch of heavy stuff around because there's bigger muscles around me.
Women in general are very empathetic. Most of our customers are going through some kind of trauma like fire or other damage to their home. Women have a strong ability to empathize and be comforting during a time of trial and hardship.
My favorite thing about the restoration industry has nothing to do with me being a woman, but everything to do with the people of the restoration industry. Restorers are just some very special people, and you have to be just cut from a different cloth to be able to drop everything and go help someone when they need you, no matter what you had on your agenda for the day. You're servants and you're doers, and you do it with a sense of urgency, and you just have that passion for helping people. And I've always wondered, like, what am I going to do after I don't do this anymore? And I can't really think past that, because I don't want to think about being in an industry without restoration contractors, just because I love the camaraderie of this industry so much. And so the people and the relationships are what I love the most about the restoration industry.
When people ask me, what do you do? And I say, I work in construction and restoration. And they're like, oh, because it's not a typical thing for a woman to be in this male-dominated industry, and that's what I love. The element of surprise is further backed up by my company's top-performing resume that I take very seriously. I like being a part of the movement that proves women can do anything. The women in this industry are also very supportive and inspire one another to be a strong leader and to believe in yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the 2021 RIA Annual Convention. As you see on the board, not anymore, you will see on the boards information about a Slido deck. Just be ready with a browser on your phones or devices. We are going to be doing a lot of surveys and questions throughout the process in order to collect data, not only for this session, but future sessions. So keep an eye out for those as they appear. But my main job up here this morning is actually just the pleasure and the delight of introducing Mark Springer, who's going to really take us on a journey this morning about what RA has been doing and plans to do in the future. I do want to give a special thank you to everyone who's worked really hard to put this event together. It has been years in the making. We're excited it's finally come to fruition, so it is very nice to see all of you here. So on to Mark. Mark Springer is the president of Dayspring Restoration, a company that performs restoration services in properties that are damaged by disasters such as water, fire, wind, or environmental damage. Dayspring performs these services across the great state of Montana, where Mark has lived his entire life. The Dayspring family has grown to over 150 team members who work hard to delight their customers who have experienced property damage in their homes or businesses. Serving the communities that Dayspring operates in has always been a priority for Mark, and he has been a board member for many nonprofit organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce, Children's Outreach, Hospital Foundations, and Medical Research. Mark is also very passionate for the sustainability of the property restoration industry. He's the president of the Restoration Industry Association from 2020 to 2022, an international trade association that advances professional practices and advocacy for their members. So that's what Mark does for us. I don't think you all realize how much he does for us and what he's accomplished in the last few years. He's gonna tease some of it out, but just know that there's a lot more that you may not be seeing that he's accomplished in the last couple of years, and he's done it with grace. So thank you very much, Mark.
How's our mic? Do we got a mic? Can you guys hear me okay? Hey, it is so awesome to see everybody here today. Wow, it seems like it's been a lifetime since we've been able to see people together. It's been quite, as Kelly said, quite a couple years that we've been through, and I'm so excited to tell you about what's been happening now for really the last couple years. Since we saw you all in Phoenix, which seems like a completely different lifetime in so many ways, so much has happened, and Kelly's totally wrong. I totally don't agree. It's not anything about me, but a bunch of these people up here on the stage and a whole bunch of people that we're going to recognize today. I can't wait to introduce you today to so many people that have worked so hard, spent so much time, thousands and thousands of volunteer hours to see this industry move forward. And that's what we're excited to talk about today and show you. There's a lot of times, there's so much noise. Social media, email, text messages, all this stuff, that sometimes it's hard to know what is most important. We're going to be able to talk to you today about a lot of stuff that's really important, not only to RIA and our future, but to the future of this industry. We can't wait to share that with you today. I want everyone to just take a look up here. We've got this great technology that I really, really hope works today. Technology is always so great until it isn't. And it's called Slido. So if you go to slido.com, enter the event code, which is hashtag RIA Expo 2021, and you can do that if you're online too. We want online participation. We're going to talk about our folks who are with us online. Great to have you guys with us as well. But if you're here in this room, all except for one survey, we want your feedback on, because the direction of this industry association, the direction of RIA, is totally about what's best for you. So we want to make sure that you guys are able to participate and that we can hear your voice in everything that's happening. Now, our very first poll that we've got here is one that we used back in Phoenix 2 years ago. We asked a question, so just to test this, see what's happening, see where people get the vibe, kind of take the temperature of the room. We want to find out what's the one word that you would use to describe the current state of the restoration industry. So let's see how this is working. It's called a word cloud. So the words that get the most response are the ones that become the biggest. And for those of you who are with us back in 2019, you may remember. Does anyone remember? Shout it out if you remember what the word that was the big word back in 2019. Anyone remember what that was? Fragmented. That's right. Anyone see, is fragmented even up there right now? I don't see fragmented. It's almost like we're fragmented no more. That was one of the things that we really talked about. Is one of our goals here with this association is to see this industry come together, to work together as a unified industry. And we're going to be able to talk, and I'm going to be able to introduce some people that have worked so hard to be able to help see unity come to this industry. So it seems that we've got a whole bunch of different words up here. The big ones I'm seeing are consolidation. Man, isn't that a theme? Aren't we seeing that everywhere? Changing, evolving, challenging. So we'll save this here. We're going to move on from this this word cloud here, and we'll come back around to that a little bit later. I want to talk about a few highlights that we want to make sure that you note. Now, a lot of times these trade association conventions end up being something that's a good opportunity to go somewhere, see friends, be off-site, catch up on your golf. But this is a special one for us. 75 years. We got a lot of people we want to thank, a lot of people we want to recognize who helped us make it through 75 years. But I want to point out, you'll notice this year's a little different. We don't got a bunch of breakout sessions. We're together for this whole event, and that was on purpose. And we're going to talk about what really are some of the highlights that we want to make sure that you catch over the next 2 days that we're together. The first one is we got three great businesses. Warner Cruise here, JC Restoration in Chicago. We've got ATI, I'm not sure where Jeff and Gary Moore are. I heard this is Gary Moore's very first RI event. Gary, thank you. Thanks for letting us have, Jeff, is that over here? I can't see very well out there in the light. But anyway, these are two amazing businesses, very well respected businesses. ATI Restoration, JC Restoration, and they're going to tell you about how they built their business and the journey that has been over the years. And we all know how much work that takes. We're also then going to have a session that talks about some of the major events in the history of our country and how businesses responded to those enormous challenges. We've got Damon Gersh and Rusty Amarante, again, two amazing businesses, Belfour Restoration and Maxons, which is now part of First On Site. More of the consolidation that's been happening too. Congratulations to Damon, two very respected individuals. Looking forward to hearing about how these businesses responded to these major events. Next, we've got a AGA Academy. Ed's going to talk about AGA Academy and what it can do for your business. All of this work that is happening within the advocacy and government affairs, how it is going to impact you and how you can use all of the work product that's being developed. Ed doesn't even need an introduction, but he's up here too. Ed, thanks for all you do. We're glad to have you here with us. Next, we've got the evolution of the restoration industry with 4 guys who have been RIA presidents over the years and have faced some very major challenges at very pivotal times in the industry. We got Rusty, Scott, Barry, and Cliff. I don't think any of these guys really need an introduction, but I'll be able to introduce them later this afternoon. Then we've got our Diamond Disaster Celebration. Hopefully there's no disasters at the Diamond Disaster Celebration. We're very excited to be able to actually have 2 years of our awards and recognition, being we weren't able to be together in New Orleans last spring. We have a backlog of awards, some great companies, some great individuals to recognize, and we will be awarding the Woman in Restoration Award. I've been told that the winner of this year's Woman in Restoration Award was featured in the video. So the video you saw when you were coming in, one of the ladies in that video won the award according to Ms. Blevins. Ms. Blevins is the keeper of the who won the award, and she's keeping it super secret, so don't try to ask her and get it out or she won't tell you. Tomorrow, we've got, starting out with Vern Harnish, and I don't know if Vern's here. Vern, if you're here, put your hand up there. Is Vern, anyone see Vern? I'm not sure if he's here yet, but we are so excited to have Vern Harnish here. I tricked Vern. I asked him to come speak. I told him it's our 75th anniversary. He thought he was going to Montana. And then he found out it was July or June, end of June in Florida. He felt a little bit tricked by that, but we're so glad to have Vern with us. Scaling Up is one of the best business resources, I believe, that's available, and excited to have Vern do a deep dive with us on scaling up and how it can transform your business. We've got next, we've got Ben Justison and Tom McGuire, Maximizing Profit. Estimating methodology, job budgeting, and a labor calculator. I think Ben's over here somewhere. Ben, put your hand up. I think everyone knows Ben. Tom, if you're here, put your hand. Oh, there's Tom over there. 2 guys with tremendous knowledge who'll be able to, but well worth your time to visit that session. And then finally, we will end the convention tomorrow with Face the Advocate with Ed Cross. Face the Advocate in our virtual event last fall was an enormous success. It was, I think, so useful to restorers to be able to see this dialogue that happened with some of the executives from JS Held as we tackled some of these position statements that have been released for third-party consultants. And there was so much work behind the scenes to be able to work together to find where is the common ground that we have on this issue? How do we again see this industry sustained into the future? And you won't want to miss Face the Advocate, as Ed has several third-party administrator representatives joining him for Face the Advocate. So absolutely don't miss that. A number of thank yous are in order. The first thank you, of course, is to Kelly Dolan. Kelly, where did you go? Oh, there she is. When you see Kelly around in the halls, please give her and all of these committee members huge kudos. I can't even tell you what it's like to organize an event like this in a pandemic. It was plan, replan, change, venue change speakers. These people can't travel. Oh, our Canadians can't get across the border. The Australians can't nonstop challenges. We actually planned this event and the events that we had last year multiple times. This group has worked constantly. They put together great content for you. Kelly, thank you for your leadership and everything that you've done with this group. Also to Jackie Carpenter, Ben Justison, Craig Kersemeyer, Katie, Christy, and Claire, all of you, thank you for such an amazing event. You know, a lot of times people go to these events and they see the name and go, man, it'd be great to have my name up on the screen. Trust me, it is so much work. We need your help, and please try to get your name up on the screen, but it's a ton of work. We also want to thank our remote attendees. We've got another word cloud here just because we want to find out where people are watching from. We've got people, I don't know again if this is going to work, because if you're here in the room, don't put in Orlando, please. But we just were like, I wonder if people will be able to use this remotely. We wanted to kind of test it out. So I'm going to give just a second here to say, I know we've got some folks in Canada. We've got people in Las Vegas. Tom Brady's basement. Tom Brady has a place in Montana, so that's not one of our people. We got people in Toronto. Where else do we got people coming in? Hey, the great thing is the technology's working. We got New Jersey, New York, Detroit. I know that we've got people in Australia. I think it's like 10:30 at night. Guys, we're so sorry. 10:30 at night. I don't see any Australia up there. Maybe they're going to catch the live stream later. But this is the first time we've done this, and I'm so relieved that they can see us, because the technology was so frightening to be putting this all over. Thank you again for your support. Our board member up in Canada, Frank Marabelli, has been pushing this out up there, which is great. Thank you for that. I know we got some of our other friends who weren't able to make it. Folks from Southeast Restoration, shout out there. Folks from Cousineau Restoration, shout out to you guys. There's a couple I know for sure that are on. Thank you for your support, and we hope that you enjoy this live broadcast. I want to thank our board of directors. Our board is such an amazing group of people. I've told people so many times that when any person on our board is gone, it's going to create a huge whole. I love working with all of these people. The group that we have big companies, we have smaller companies, we have mid-sized companies, we've got guys, we've got ladies, and this group, through this last year, we're going to talk about what's happened this past year. This group has worked so hard. RIA was pushed all the way to the brink. Canceling a trade show last April is not good for this association. And this association pushed all the way to the brink. Our board dug in, and they worked so hard on your behalf, and I want to thank all of them here. I'm not going to mention all the names because we're so pressed for time, but all of you, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do. We're going to recognize a little bit more of that in a little bit here. I also want to welcome our new board members, two great guys elected by you all. Our election this year had record turnout. We also had a record for the most amount of applicants for our board that we're aware of. We had a huge group that applied to be on our board, two that were elected to 3-year terms, as Jeff Moore already mentioned. Jeff, ATI. Jeff has been a huge supporter. His company, his family have been huge supporters of AGA, everything that we're doing. Jeff, thank you for your support. Welcome to the board. And also Andy Zavatny. Guys, stand up if you're out there in the audience just so people can get to know you. Andy Zavatny, let's give them a hand. Congratulations to both of you. Andy Zavatny is the CEO of Custom US, and also just a huge supporter of AGA, everything that we're doing to be able to sustain the property restoration industry. Craig Powers, if you could step up here. Craig just completed 6 years, 2 back-to-back 3-year terms, and Craig has been such an incredible gift to our board. I know he's sitting over here somewhere. I saw him just, oh, there he is. Craig, step up here. We want to recognize you, all of your service. Craig is a guy that you love to have on your board because he shows up for every meeting prepared. He never misses meetings, and he always volunteers for the work that no one else wants to volunteer for. Craig, thank you for all your service. It's been great working with you. Please stay involved with us. There you go. You want to grab a picture? You want to grab a picture up front? Do we have where's our camera person? Okay, hopefully we'll get that one for posterity. Craig, thank you so much for all that you've done. I want to recognize here our 70, we don't usually ever do this, but we have a lot of legacy volunteers here. I see a whole bunch of past presidents that were on our registration list. I see Mr. Violan right there, so I know at a minimum we've got one. Please, if you're a past president with this association, please stand up. I know we've got Chuck there. I cannot see the back. I think that's Barry Swidler there. Who we got back there? Lee King is up front here. Who do we got back there? Is that Rusty? I Okay, it is rusty back there. I know we got Cliff Slotnick. Guys, thank you again. 75 years wouldn't have happened without you guys. Please stay standing. I also want to recognize, if you've ever been on our board of directors, please stand up if you've ever been on the board. Presidents, go ahead and stand up. Just stay standing. If you've been on the board in the past, also, if you've volunteered on a committee, on anything, please stand up. Okay, these are all the people over the years that have made this association possible, that have helped us get through so many challenges over 75 years. What an incredible accomplishment. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you've done. Also, a huge thank you to our staff. You know, we made a transition right before COVID to association headquarters. And, you know, there was the kind of from a historic standpoint, we went through a rough patch with our management. And it was a hard decision to make a change, but in association headquarters, we found a great partner. I think that their staff, Christy Cohen here, leads an incredible staff that has just worked so tirelessly to be able to bring all the content that we brought over the past year to put this great show together. Christy and all of the AH staff, thank you. Let's give them a hand for all the work they've had to get us here today. Also want to thank our major partners. I mentioned what a challenging year to make it through, and we want to recognize these partners that we've had, their incredible financial support over the past year. Advanaclean, ATI, First On Site, formerly Interstate, Custom Restoration, Rainbow International, Restoration Affiliates, and Restoration Management Company. All of these companies have supported AGA or have supported us as enterprise members, which is a new membership designation that we have. For those who are representing these companies, we thank you for your support. It would have been so hard to make it. Please give them a hand and thank them. If you see people from these organizations, please thank them. Their support was huge in us being able to make it through the past year. And then to all of our major sponsors and event sponsors here, especially just some of the real major top-level sponsors, we want to recognize our partnership with IICRC has been fantastic. Michael Dakduke's going to talk to you here in just a little bit about how we're working together on your behalf. So thank you, IICRC. Sunbelt is always here. Ken Rothmel, if you're here, stand up, just because we appreciate everything that you do for us. The guys from Belfour, 1-800 Water Damage, Blue Kangaroo Packouts, and National Drying Technologies. Aaron Foreman, if you're here, or anyone else from NDT, stand up. We've got Brown & Brown Insurance, and of course, they've been here all the time. They're always behind RIA, Viola Management Company. Chuck, thank you for all your support. Please help us thank these event sponsors and their support of the industry. Now, I mentioned that there was this little event that came up that ended up kind of throwing a wrinkle in some of our association business. It was this thing called COVID. I don't know if y'all have heard of it, but it was kind of caused a wrinkle for RIA over the past year and a half. I've got a little timeline that I'm going to show that just demonstrates what has happened really since we saw you last down in Phoenix. And there's been so much that's happened. We were so excited when we were in Phoenix. We all launched the AGA initiative, and we were so excited about everything that was happening with AGA. We had this partnership with IICRC that we were excited about being able to work together in the industry for things like standards and certification. And as we went into that, we also changed our management company, and we were so excited about what the future held. The ink was hardly dry on our contract with association headquarters, and COVID hit, and it changed everything for us. For the first time in our, at that point, 74-year history, we had to cancel our convention, and that is just a terrible, that decision was so difficult for this group, because we knew when we did that, it was going to change so much for us. Our board of directors had constant updates from Christy and her team as to what the impacts were going to look like, and it was grim. At one point, we were projecting that we would have a shortfall of somewhere around $300,000. It was scary. I'm thinking, this is great. We've got all these good things starting to happen. The association's made it 74 years, and now it's going to die on our watch. But that wasn't what was going to happen. We had every person, as I mentioned, on our board of directors, every person on all the committees, the AGA subcommittees, education committee, everyone completely dug in. And through some incredible efforts of these volunteers, through some incredible things that we were able to think differently about for the first time in 74 years, we were able to see this association in a lot of ways change to meet the moment. And as you can see up here, as this timeline rolls out, I couldn't go through all that. We'd have to spend a whole session here talking about everything that has happened. Some really big things. Hopefully you've been able to connect with us. If you haven't, I would encourage you to watch for communication. We're going to talk about how the best way to communicate with you is. But watch for communication from us, because some really big things were happening. A couple of the ones that we'll highlight here were the briefings that we had with Xactimate. There was a series of discussions that we had with CEO from Xactimate, Mike Fulton. I got to give major kudos to Xactimate. I was really concerned about Xactimate. So many of us have seen things in Xactimate where for long periods of time we see our pricing just totally flat. And Xactimate responded to us. And they're working with us to be able to see pricing updated in more real time. Unfortunately, Xactimate isn't traveling yet due to the pandemic, but they are working on a program that will help us have real-time pricing and help the industry. That was a major event. We had 10 position statements developed by all the volunteers here. All of those things created an incredible amount of work product for your benefit. Hopefully, just in seeing all that, you can see that there has been an enormous amount accomplished. We did not go into hiding in COVID. We worked harder than ever, and we didn't end with a $300,000 shortfall. Really, through 5 key things that I want to talk about, we were able to make it through the year. And the first one was, and a special thanks to our instructors. So I'm going to ask just to step up here. And where did all these guys go? They were supposed to already be up here. Ken, I gave you one job. Hey, here's what these guys did. One of the things we pivoted in was our training being available online and on demand. Guys, step up right here on the front of the stage. And what these guys did is we were able to offer FLS, WLS, CLS online. And what these guys did is they said, hey, we want to help RA get through this, so we don't want any compensation for teaching. We don't want any honorariums. We just want to use our time to help the industry. And we had a 1,700% increase in advanced designations, people going through advanced designations. This resulted in an over $100,000 increase in RA's revenues. And guys, we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for all that you've done. We want to recognize these guys and thank them for everything that they did, for taking all of their time online. Guys, we owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you so much for everything you've done. As long as these guys are up here, I'm going to ask Josh Miller to give us just a brief update on the education initiatives that you're working on. And then Norris is going to tell us about the final pillar. The last pillar of the CR prerequisites is almost here, Environmental Restoration Specialist. So he's going to tell us about that as well. Josh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mark. So the 2 big things, really the 3 big things that the RIA's Education Committee is working on for the rest of 2021. Norris will update us on the ERS, but the other 2 we saw on Mark's timeline up there is we developed a building science course that the RIA owns all of the all of the proprietary information, really the intellectual property. So that was a big deal for our prerequisite classes. So I want to recognize Joe's up here. We can't say enough about Joe Myers. When this class started, we basically said, hey, this is what's been offered in the past, and we'd like to design something for the future. And Joe got a committee together, and they have created over 300-page manual from scratch that's now a phenomenal resource. They taught their first class over the weekend. We look forward to teaching more of those as well. The other one is Craig Powers and a couple of other people, along with Pete Consigli's guidance, redeveloped our 2-day project management course. And so that's another course that was offered Saturday and Sunday. It'll be offered virtually in the future. We want all of these courses to be virtual as much as we can. I think COVID's taught us we need to be able to pivot. So those are the things that the RIA is focusing on, the Education Committee, for the rest of 2021. Norris's update, then those 2 courses, and then we just recently, Joe seems to be a glutton for work, so Joe and I, along with the IICRC, just recently formed a task force that is creating an industry harmonized glossary of all of these terms, so hopefully look for that in the next year. So that's a brief update of everything that all the volunteers have been working on.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And Norris, tell us about ERS.
You only gave me a little bit of time, and Josh took most of it. So, the ERS, Environmental Law Specialist, is a unique pillar, and it's going to be a little different than a lot of the training that you've gone to. It follows the CBRNE acronym, which is Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear. And the idea being that none of us are going to be experts in any of these, and most of these require additional training, certification, and regulatory oversight. However, it's not uncommon for us to respond to a site where we may be exposed to any one of these categories, whether it be improvised explosives or a really unusual chemical exposure. So the key element for this course is to teach the restoration professional how to recognize those signs, the risks that are associated with it, and then what to do when they see it. First off, step back, and then who to go to and where to get help. So that will be rolling out, first quarter of next year.
Awesome. Thanks. Guys, thank you all. Let's give these guys a huge hand. All right, thanks guys, appreciate all you guys. If you have not checked out these advanced designations, I know we have a lot of WLSs in the room. The Fire Law Specialist program, I worked with the team that completed that program, unbelievable, totally recommend. If you haven't looked at that, check it out. It's amazing training for fire restoration. By the way, last night when we recognized all the people who got their advanced designations, guys, I'm sorry. That room was loud. It was really hard. There's so much work we know that goes into getting those designations. I'm really sorry that it was so loud. And for those who had the special moment, we're going to do that different next time. Just be on the lookout for that. But I'm sorry for how loud it was. The second thing helped us make it through this crazy year that we've been was the major financial support from some key companies. 2 of the very first adopters that we've had here are Rainbow International and First On-Site. Again, at that point it was Interstate Restoration, now rebranded as First On-Site. For all the people there at both Rainbow, Josh and Jack White, Josh Miller and Jack White have been huge champions of RA. Thank you guys for that. And then over at First On-Site, we got Heitmans, we got Bergmans, Gersh, all you guys, thank you all for your support. Thank you for coming on with us and believing in what RIA is doing. Third thing was the support that we had for AGA through major investments, and 4 that really stood out. Takata over here, Restoration Management Company, Restoration Affiliates, Jim Kowalski, and I know Debbie Bogar was big in that too. Thank you guys, and I think Damian Leip as well. So thank you all for enormous support for AGA there. And then again, Andy Zavatny, Custom Restoration, and the Moores at ATI. These AGA investments were huge. We would have had to stop some of our work if it hadn't been for the support of these folks. So thank you so much there for what you have done. The next one was virtual events. There are so many events, again, we had to pivot into to be able to bring content to you in the industry. We did a lot on COVID. We did a lot on ways to get through the pandemic as a business, joint work with ICRC. All of that was huge for getting us through the past year. And then finally, our partnership, again, thank you to AH. They went right down with us. We had to rebuild our scope of work and our contract. They worked with us. They've been a great partner. Thank you guys for what you've done. But all 5 of these things, we're so grateful to make it through what was such a very difficult time. And like I said, we didn't end up with a shortfall. We actually ended up with a surplus. And again, without all of these people, we couldn't have done that. And that hurts the industry if RIA has to stop what it's doing. So thank you all. Let's give a hand to all these people that have done so much to get us through such an incredibly difficult year. Now, one of the people that I'm really looking forward to introducing you to, Mike, head up here to the stage, is Mike Dakduke. A lot of you guys have not probably yet had a chance to meet Michael Dakduke. He is the CEO of IICRC. What IICRC is doing in partnership with us here at RIA has been so pivotal in us being able to move forward what we're trying to do here on behalf of the industry. Mike, welcome to our 75th anniversary.
Thank you.
And Mike's just going to talk for a few minutes about some of the work that we're doing together and some of the important things coming. So, Mike, off to you.
Appreciate that, Mark. Thank you for the time, and it's very nice meeting you all. This is my first RIA event, and I'm very privileged to be here at the 75th anniversary. A bit about me, I came from Washington, D.C. I worked on career, technical, and trade education. Any sort of program or educational content that leads to a career. Think welding, HVAC, even nursing, programs like that. Still heavily involved in advocating on behalf of military service members going into career-oriented education. So when I received the opportunity to serve at IICRC, I realized that this is a natural segue for me. And one of the interesting partnerships that I fell into immediately was with Mark and his leadership here at RIA. So there's been a long history between RIA and IICRC, some good, some not so good. But here's what's important for you all to know. I've only witnessed positive. What I've said to my leadership and to Mark and his team is that that is all I know. And in fact, I think the Institute, IICRC's best partner, is RIA. I fully believe that, and I'm committed to maintaining such a strong partnership and working together for the mutual benefit of both organizations. One of the things that I was so proud to see that RIA is doing for the future is a heavy focus on advocacy. I come from working in advocacy, from government relations to grassroots and grass tops type of advocacy. There are 2 types of ways you can be involved in advocacy. It's binary, black and white. You can be on the field or you can be on the sidelines. And what most organizations do is they're reactive. What they do is they get involved in advocacy after they're regulated. You're at a critical point in your organization. This is a highly unregulated industry, and you have the opportunity to shape the future of how you're going to be seen by the public, by lawmakers, and by decision makers. And IICRC looks forward to being involved with RIA in your advocacy agenda in the future. The final thing I'll say before I turn it back over to Mark is that we now have the privilege of managing the RIA certifications, and I say privileged because we take great pride in processing certifications. From down to the little details of the embroidery on them, we care. And if you interact with us and you don't have a good experience, talk to me. We care about customer service, we care about engaging you all and making sure you have a wonderful experience when you receive your certifications and your pocket cards. So with that, thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting you all at the evening reception.
Thank you. Good having you with us. IICRC has been a fantastic partner, and we are just getting started in so many great initiatives that we can be working together on to elevate this industry. That's one of the key tenets of our strategic plan, is to elevate the industry. Now, especially one of the things that we want to highlight in our relationship with IICRC is the joint venture task force that was used for both COVID and the most recent storm season that we just went through. The work that's been done here, I've never seen anything like it in the industry, in such amazing work product. And Mike and I were talking about this. You don't see this happen normally, where such incredible content was made available so quickly. And there's a bunch of people that were involved in this. Brandon's going to mention them. I was so disappointed that Brandon wasn't able to be here for our 75th. And so he made a promise to his wife a couple years ago that he wouldn't travel anymore in the industry. And I thought, I'll talk him out of it. He was wise. He listened to his wife and not me. He's not here, but he did record a video for us and just wanted to share a few words about what they did in the joint task force. Need volume back on the laptop.
And Vice President of Technical Application at NextGear Solutions. I'm honored to have been asked to share with you today some of my past and recent experiences with the Restoration Industry Association. This event marks the 75th anniversary of the RIA. My experience only spans 28 of those years, but they've been an amazing and transformational 3 decades. My story begins by meeting an amazing human being in Ben Yonker in my pursuit of the water law specialist. He was the first of many RIA members and volunteers that left a vivid and permanent mark on my perception of the restoration space and my passion for education and training. What amazes me most about this association is the heart, will, and passion of so many to see our industry continue to grow and mature. I've been blessed to see and work beside industry champions that have become mentors to many of us in our professional careers. People like Rusty Amarante, Pete Consigli, Cliff Solotnik. To see the depth at which these people care about the members of this association and the projects and customers they serve, it's quite humbling. More recently, I've had the opportunity to witness this transformation and maturation from a very unique vantage point. Through the joint efforts of the RIA and the IICRC in drafting the S700 fire standard led by Bran Lynch and John Pletcher, and as a member of the RIA, IICRC, and AIHA Crisis Response Joint Task Force, alongside Michael Pinto, Norris Gearhart, Mark Drozdov, I've had a front row seat to a level of industry-wide collaboration and partnership that had only been discussed, desired, or considered in the past, but now has become a reality. I know there are many that have supported this amazing industry and its ongoing transformation that allowed us to realize that we truly are better together. From my very specific vantage point and the role I've been blessed to play in the last few years, I want to thank the RIA, and specifically Mark Springer, for the confidence and trust, the IICRC for the honor of serving in a standards leadership role, and to Garrett Gray of NextGear Solutions for allowing me to dedicate my time to be a small part of our industry's growth and future. Congratulations, Restoration Industry Association, for 75 years, and thank you for all you do to make us better together.
If you've got Brandon's email address, send him a note and thank him for all he does. What these guys have done has been incredible, and we're so thankful that that partnership has existed at such a critical time. I'm going to ask John to step up here for just a second. John, no surprise, we're running behind already. So if you could just share a very brief update on where S700 is. People are asking about it. We'd love to get an update.
I was very fortunate to be able to meet a industry icon myself. In the mid-90s, happenstance put me together with Marty King on a project on a phantom smoke odor at a house in near Washington, D.C. And I didn't know who this guy was. I was a franchisee at the time, and they weren't offering the kind of information this guy had in his head. And I said, I have to know this guy better. I have to get to know him better. And that led to a long, lasting relationship and friendship with Marty. In fact, he's the reason I joined the IRA. At the time as the ASCR. And, I always felt the IICRC was the water and carpet cleaning guys, and the RIA was the fire guys. And I still believe that to be true. And this partnership that Mark was responsible for, and Lee King, and of course Brandon. It worked out with the IICRC has been a huge thing. This S700 document is going to be tremendously important. I want to appreciate everybody's patience with this. We have struggled in the beginning stages. Lee King and Larry Holder started the fire standard number 2 for RIA, and that's how I got invited to be on the consensus body. Marty King at the time was involved in that, and one thing led to another. I became the second vice chair after Larry had to leave the RIA with Belfour. So anyway, the S700 was proposed when these guys got together and they worked things out. Thank you, Mark. It was a lot of work on your part. We one of the things was he wanted people involved in the CB for the FS2 to be involved in the S700, and we're well represented here. We have Josh Smith, we have Cliff Zlotnick. I'm very fortunate to have one of the second icons in the industry, Cliff Zlotnick, on our panel. And Dave Robbins is here, David Mason's here. I'm probably missing some people, but let me tell you where we are. This is a long process. The IICRC uses ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, which has very strict guidelines on how we can proceed, track changes in the document. So we took FS2 and we tried to mold it into this new document. And FS2, by the way, is really a rehash of Marty's NIDR guidelines. I don't know if everybody has a copy of the fire and smoke guidelines that he wrote. We're trying to make it updated and make it in standard language, and it's a little bit of a struggle, but we've got a great dedicated consensus body. We meet every Thursday for an hour and a half, and we've been in it now for 2 years plus a month or two. It's going on. I would say the progress right now, I was talking to Dave Mason, we're saying a strong 75%. Literally, you're almost reviewing every single word. If you guys could appreciate how slow this process is, but it has to be right. And that's the most important thing. So if anybody wants to come and talk to me, I'm here for the rest of today and tomorrow. I'd be happy to share it with you, but it's coming there. Be patient, because it's going to be a great, great document. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we got Adi back? Oh, there we go. John, thank you guys for all your work, and Bran as well. Rusty, tell Bran over at Belfour, appreciate all their work on this. Okay, AGA. Time for an update on what's happening with AGA. AGA was launched in Phoenix at our last time we were together, and really what AGA was built on was what we call the AGA Blueprint. And this was a 7-step plan that we have to be able to positively impact the industry, and especially the sustainability of the industry. And like I've already mentioned, so much progress has been made on this by so many of the people up here on this stage. They're going to share a little bit with you about what's happening in this. The committee is strong. Yesterday we had an enormous meeting of the AGA committee covering some really important issues that impact the industry. These folks are working all the time behind the scenes. And I'm going to, first of all, I'm so pleased to be able to introduce Christy. Christy, stand up here. I know you're going to speak with our members just a little bit about how we prioritize issues and get feedback from our members. But if you've not had a chance yet to meet Christy, she's an amazing human being. She's amazing to work with, and all of her team. Thank you, Christy. Let's please welcome Christy Cohen. I think it's up.
Hello. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you again, Mark, for the introduction. I am so excited to be here. And this is the best possible time to be involved with RIA. RIA's AGA is the unified advocacy team that is here on your behalf of our RIA members, on behalf of the restoration industry. And so it is critically important that we hear from you, the feedback that you are able to give us on what are the biggest challenges your business faces is what helps us shape the scope of our work for AGA and where we place our focus. So please take some time now. Tell us what that biggest challenge is that you're facing in your business. We want to hear from you. And as you can see, there are so many common challenges here. We see TPA, hiring, labor, all kinds of issues that are clearly crossing over. All of our members are having these common issues. And so In terms of providing that feedback to us, we have several ways that you can engage with RIA and you can have access to the AGA, to our advocacy team that's working on your behalf. One of those ways is we have an AGA issue submission form right on the RIA website. When you're encountering an issue, if you're seeing things changing with pricing in your marketplace, let us know, and that goes straight to our AGA committee for information, for vetting, and it helps us to know what's happening out in the field. We also have our new annual TPA scorecard report. So we're going to be surveying restorers every year to talk about what's happening in the TPA contractor relationship. Last year in 2020, we initiated our first survey. We had nearly 1,000 restorers who responded. They helped us hone in on what are some of the challenges between the TPAs and the contractors related to fees, related to process. And so now that information is being taken by Ed and our AGA team to the TPAs directly. We're having dialogue about how we can overcome some of those challenges, and you'll see some of those TPAs represented tomorrow during our Face the Advocate session. So your voice is being heard, and we want to make sure that you're sharing your input with us. The last thing I want to touch on is how can we better communicate with all of you? When we release our position statements on price deviation from price lists, when we release our TPA scorecard report, third-party consultants, we need to get that information out into your hands so that you can use it to help your business. So just let us know. We want to hear from you. If it's texting, social media, email, we want to get all channels going so that you have the information that you need and that you're up to date on the work that we are doing for all of you. So we appreciate your feedback and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great, Christy, thank you. Great feedback, folks, there on how we can best communicate with you. It looks like email by far is the best way. I'm totally surprised by that because actually the open rate on the emails we send out is pretty low. It's not as high as we'd like it to be. So here's what maybe would help do this better. When you go back from here and you see all of the stuff that's coming from RIA, please designate or find out who's the best person in my organization, or maybe it's how many people in your organization. AH's team and our staff is ready to help your company get the people connected with us to be able to communicate in a way that's helpful to you. So great thing to follow up with. Make a note of that. Follow up with when you get back. Christy and her team will help you out. Thank you for all that, Christy. And next we have Katie Smith. Katie Smith is the president-elect. Everyone's asking her, what were they asking when you're president or something?
I'm getting a lot of congratulations.
Oh, congratulations. Everyone's,
like,
sorry guys,
yet.
you got to put up with me for one more year. My apologies in advance. Katie will be much more fun to work with, but Katie has done an incredible job as the chairwoman of AGA over the last year and a half. I have to work with Katie so much. Over last year, we've worked so much together, and she is so talented. She is such an enormous help to RIA achieving what it does. So please help me welcome Katie Smith. The association's be great with Katie.
Thank you. So we know that if we want to move from fragmented to united, that we have to speak with one voice. So that means that we can't see each other as allies. We have to be, we have to see each other as allies and not competitors so that we can stop being pitted against each other when the adjuster tells you that the company down the street doesn't charge the same way that you do. So we know that there are thousands of contractors, but we don't have thousands of problems. We have the same major headaches. So at our convention in Phoenix, there was a rallying cry for us to just get organized. And we knew that part of that included organizing our thoughts and our beliefs. And so we identified our major problems and we created position statements to articulate a shared stance for the industry. Now, to form these statements, we compiled groups of restorers who represent independents, franchises, companies across the country of all different sizes. We had owners, managers, estimators, project managers, all working toward a common goal. Everyone has a voice. The work of the AGA does not benefit one brand more than it does another. Some of the best and brightest minds in the industry are involved, and we're grateful for their time and talents. And I'd actually like for every AGA committee member or task force member or volunteer on the AGA to stand up so we can recognize you for a minute. Thank you for everything that you do for us. So our task forces carefully crafted statements. They analyzed every word. They argued the points. And if the AGA could not defend it, then we sent them back to the drawing board, where they made numerous changes. And they spent hundreds of hours on these statements to land on points that were fair, reasonable, and peer-reviewed, not just by restorers, but also by some of the third parties that we encounter in the claims process. So the AGA work product contains 10 total position statements, a groundbreaking industry first report, hours of videos on pricing, and this week we've added a nationwide resource document on assignments of benefits. We have been very busy. Our most recent position statement addresses pricing, which we all know is our biggest headache. Our topic is deviation from standardized price lists. So when an adjuster tells you that they'll only pay Xactimate pricing, you'll know that the industry stance is that insurance carriers and their partners should not prohibit deviations from standardized price lists. This statement is backed with references from the major pricing software companies. So if you're an owner and you're here by yourself today, I challenge you to take this statement back into your company. Share it with your estimators, your PMs, your managers, train them on how to use this. So when you run into situations like we do, where adjusters assume that it costs us less money to travel 20 miles south than it does to 20 miles north, you'll have a rational peer-reviewed statement that you can use in negotiating with them. Now, last year we released 8 third-party consultant position statements, and if you're asking what is a third-party consultant, the consultant is someone that you'll encounter on a large loss that comes in sometimes when work is already underway, many times after work is already complete and you're waiting to get paid. They ask a lot of questions, they ask for a lot of documentation. The first question we had is exactly what does a consultant do? So the first TPC position statement is the role of the consultant. Statements that follow are project control, pricing methodology, labor rates and classifications, evidence of cost to perform work, evidence of ownership of equipment, undisputed sums, and timeliness of payment. Even more, we have videos on our website where we speak to the leadership team of JS Held. We review all of these statements with them. They don't disagree with anything that we've said, and they even tell you what you should do if you're on a large loss and you can't come to an agreement with a consultant. So those are great resources for your company on our website. The very first position statement that we released was for third-party administrator, TPA claims. It addresses scope change requests that are not in line with the controlling document. So if a TPA tells you to change your estimate based on program requirements and you just can't find those requirements in writing anywhere, it tells you what to do. It lays out a process for you to follow. So if you have a program administrator in your company, share this document with them so that they have something that teaches them what they can do when they just come to an impasse. Now 3 years ago, I feel like I lost track of time with COVID, but at our last live town hall, someone stood up and said, we should rank TPAs the same way that they rank contractors, and we agreed with that, so we did it, and we created the industry's first TPA scorecard. And this is a great resource that you can use to make decisions in your business. We score TPAs by fees, scoring and standards, contractor customer service, credentialing opportunities, volume, and geographical representation. We presented the numerical scores. We had almost 1,000 responses, and once we gave the scores to the TPAs, they asked us for tangible feedback. So hundreds of you gave us open-ended feedback. Our TPA task force sorted through all of that feedback. We summarized it, and we narrowed it down to the top 3 opportunities for improvement for each TPA. They've received that information. We are currently working to improve the contractor-TPA relationship, and we will never stop working to improve that relationship because our restoration advocate works and speaks on our behalf. So producing these resources is just the beginning. Presenting our point of view to third parties will be an ongoing process. Our advocate is actively campaigning for change, and he'll be giving you an update in just a moment. So if you're asking where can you find these AGA resources, if you've invested in AGA, then you received an investor report in your mailbox about a month ago. So thank you for believing in us and supporting us. You can find the resources in the members-only AGA resources section on our website. And if you have never invested in AGA before, if you invest during the convention, you'll have the investor report emailed to you with your investment receipt, but that's only now through the end of the convention. So if you have not yet invested, now's the time to do it. So in closing, I just want to remind you that as you're using these resources, that's how we gain momentum. But we want to hear about how you're able to use these resources in your business. And so if you have a win, share your success with us because the RIA wants to hear about it. So on behalf of the AGA, I just want to thank you for all the support that you've shown us since Phoenix, because you have helped us to create a new RIA. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call our restoration advocate, Mr. Ed Cross, up for an update on his work.
Hello, RIA! Welcome, welcome, one and all. Oh my gosh, it is fantastic to be here. Look at all the people here today, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, Mark Springer, you sold out the Gaylord, my friend. You did it, man. You did it on the tail end of a pandemic. Look at all the people, fantastic. Happy 75th birthday, RIA. You don't look a day over 74. Oh, we are broadcasting around the world today with the live stream. We got people who are checking it out on the on-demand version. We've got all these people here today. And, you know, to have all these people under one roof today is such a fantastic thing. You know, we're kind of like one big blended family, right? So we got a couple of crazy uncles. We got a few interesting little blended family issues, but that makes it entertaining, right? Right? Had a lot of good, lively discussion. I look out over this crowd today. I see gurus. I see luminaries. I see the visionaries of this industry. And you know, there's somebody here who has been off the scene for a number of years, who was absolutely pivotal in changing the way that buildings get restored and the way that buildings get dried. An incredible inventor, an incredible genius in his own right, and we haven't seen him in so long. Ladies and gentlemen, at the 75th celebration today, we have in the crowd none other than industry icon Claude Blackburn is back. Claude, we love you. Fantastic. You know it's a big deal if Claude Blackburn is back, right? Fantastic. So much has happened since we were last together, huh? Wow. Unbelievable. The Bill Loveland video went viral. Oh my gosh, that led to some robust discussion about pricing. You know, a lot of interesting people. They looked at it and they said, you know what, RIA's doing something now. It's like all of a sudden there was this spotlight, there was this focus. And now let's have a real discussion about the pricing. Let's not just cave in, say, well, they're in charge, they're bigger than we are, we can't outspend them, let's just back down. No, you know, we can handle these issues sometimes in the court of public opinion. And the right thing can prevail, but you gotta stay after it, you gotta stay persistent. And that's what this organization is starting to do under the new reinvented version of RIA through the leadership of Mark Springer and Christy Cohen and the phenomenal Katie Sherman-Smith. And let's give a big round of applause for Claire McNabb and for Kelly Dolan, who helped us sell out this event today. Fantastic. So great. So we got together, we spent a gazillion hours putting together these papers about the positions that restorers can take when dealing with third-party consultants, and they're coming in, and I hear people, they're like, wow, you know, they're trying to control our scope, they're trying to control our price, they want evidence of ownership of our equipment, they want to pay us less if we've rented the equipment. Now, is rented equipment worth any less than equipment that you own? No. Okay, but some consultants were trying to push that position. At the end of the day, if the building gets dried, the building is dry. The building doesn't know if the equipment was rented or owned or not, right? So that's the price. They should pay the value of the service that gets received. That's what the insurance companies are obligated to pay. It's the value. And so we managed to cut through a lot of that stuff. We got agreements on the record from prominent third-party consultants about the main points that are in our 8 position statements. Now, you got to be an RIA member to get those. And after all we've done, okay, if you're not an RIA member now, what do I got to do? Stand on my head and spit nickels? Join RIA, come on. It's time. I think we've shown the value, all right? Now, we put out the TPA survey report. You can't go on Yelp and check out TPAs. Well, I'm thinking, I might get into this TPA thing. I don't know too much about it. There's all this wonderful advertising that they put out. How do I pick one? Which one is good on this point and that point? You can't get that information anywhere else except through RIA, a survey of nearly 1,000 contractors, and it's detailed. It gives you good quality information. We put out a pricing position statement that explains to you that anybody who's using a standardized price system, okay, should not be precluding people from deviating from those standards. You should be able to override the prices that are in the standardized price systems like Xactimate. As a matter of fact, we highlighted the fact that the Xactware license agreement says in it that the user should not prohibit deviation from those prices. A lot of people didn't even know that was in the agreement. So you've got an adjuster or a consultant who's using Xactimate, they have made a contractual commitment not to prohibit deviation from those prices. A lot of people didn't know that. Brought to you by the great folks at the Restoration Industry Association. Thank you very much, all of you. So we had the reports come out that we did together with IICRC on the polar vortex and on COVID and so much other stuff. So wonderful. All these big companies have gotten involved, gotten behind us now. Servpro, Mr. Preston, thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Servpro is up on the stage at an RIA event, ladies and gentlemen. How cool is that? Jeff Moore, ATI, thank you, man. Thank you. Custom on, I can't go through the whole list. Restoration Management Company, you know who you are. They mentioned them before. These people have done a phenomenal thing for us. And so many great things we have in store for you this week at this convention. We've been working on this thing for so long. Such a fantastic thing. Back to the RIA stage after so many years away. Former RIA President, Belfour's Director of Operations, our good friend, Mr. Rusty Amarante. Thank you. Welcome back to the RIA convention, sir. Thank you, Rusty. Belfour, ladies and gentlemen, and what you have created, Rusty, is an incredibly important part of the restoration ecosystem. Now, I know you stand on the shoulders of giants, Rusty. I get that. But what you have built is incredibly significant. And ladies and gentlemen, Belfour has done it with persistence, by sticking to its guns, by standing for what it believes in and holding out to get the right thing. And at the end of the day, isn't that the same philosophy that's behind the AGA? It's the same thing, right? That's it. You got to stand firm. And so we're so happy you're here, Rusty. Thank you for coming. It means a lot to us. It's very symbolic. We got Gary and Jeff Moore. They're going to come up later. We're going to hear from them. Gary Moore's very first appearance at an RIA convention. Vern Harnish. Mark told me one of the most impactful things on his business was to read Vern's book. I mean, that's high praise coming from an important, successful guy. We've launched the Face the Advocate talk show. Tomorrow you're going to hear John Michael of Alacrity, and you're going to hear Kevin Riley of West Hill. They're going to be on my show. We're going to be talking about the TPA issues, the challenges you guys are facing, and what they're going to do to make the relationship between TPAs and contractors even better. We are very excited, and I'm excited today to give the official announcement that RIA has released the 50-state reference guide for the law of assignment of benefits and insurance bad faith. The RIA believes that assignments are an important way for restorers to get control back on their projects, to deal primarily with overstepping by adjusters and underpayment by insurance companies, and to deal with the problem of insurance companies giving money to the policyholder who then runs off with the money. And today at 2:30 is going to be the AGA Academy. It's the debut session. At the AGA Academy, I'll be teaching you how to use all of these various tools, the position statements, the papers, the surveys, all these different tools that the AGA has created, how to use it in a nuts and bolts sense in your daily business. And today, the focus is going to be on AOBs, 2:30 in this room. I hope you will all be here. We have a lot going on in the TPA category as well. I've got some upcoming conversations beyond Face the Advocate that I'm going to be having with those guys. And you've got Ben Justison and Tom McGuire, the 1-2 punch, a great team on the stage all at once. I hope you have a great convention. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you all for coming, and happy birthday, RIA.
Ben Looper sent me a text and said, your mic's still live on the live stream. So sorry for being mic'd up on the live stream. Ed, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? Hey, Ed has given hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours for you, for your benefit. So Ed, thank you for all that you have done for restorers. We're in your debt for what has been advanced here over the last couple years. And you know, one of the steps here in the AGA Blueprint is that we have to have an engaged membership. We have to have your support. We have to have your feedback. We have to have your response to the work that's happening. If we generate this work product, if we've got pivotal, important, peer-reviewed position statements, which really is the cornerstone of this movement, and then our members don't use the content, or if something's not working in the content, if we don't hear back from you, then we don't make any progress. Speaking of hearing back from you, back to Slido at the RIA Expo 2021 hashtag. If you go on there, you can ask us questions. There's not just the surveys. If you've got questions, you want us to address some of these, we are going to cover some Q&A at the very end. If you're coming in from the live stream, we'd love to answer the questions from there as well. We've had a few questions come in, but wanted to make sure everyone knew that you could do that. Two guys that have been enormous supporters of RIA and AGA. They're both great friends, incredible businessmen, is Warner Cruz with JC Restoration, Dave Collier with First Atlantic in Virginia. These guys have been believers from the beginning. I remember Dave was the very first person after we launched AGA in Phoenix. He walked up to me, put a check in my hand and said, I want to be the first guy to get behind this. So Dave, thank you for that. These guys have been huge in helping us get the message out. And they're going to talk a little bit more about how we can do that and how we need you engaged. So welcome first, Mr. Warner Cruz, JC Restoration. Warner, thank you.
Hello. Hello. Am I on? Okay. Good morning. When I first joined the industry, I was, both Mark and I were members of DKI, and I was pretty young, and Mark was much younger than me. And he talked about how we need to unify this industry. He's actually done it. This is something that Mark's been talking about forever, and he's actually done it. And if you guys know Mark, you know that that's what he used to talk about all the time. Last year, after Arizona, Mark asked me if I would help fundraise. Leading an organization like this requires a lot of politics, and I'm not a good politician. You give me a task and I'll get it done. Many of you know I'll say what I feel, and he gives me a task to try to raise some money. I do that. So I reached out. I figured I'd hit up all my friends and try to get some money to people to invest in the AGA. And then I realized Josh Hobbs beat me to it and asked all of you before I did. So I asked the RA to give me a list of companies, restoration companies that might not be members, but restore properties all over the country. And there are a lot of us. And I reached out to strangers, and I'd introduce myself. From Chicago, I'm in the restoration industry. And many of you are here today, people that have never been RIA members, that I've asked you to become RIA members, and I thank you for coming and joining the organization. I would talk to members about their businesses, and my thought of a 10-minute conversation became an hour-and-a-half conversation. Talked about large losses, talked about TPAs, talked about consulting companies and the injustices, and how we're the little guy, and all the big guys are the ones that are beating us out on projects. The AGA has an advocate that is looking out for all of us, but we need your investment. We need your investment to continue doing what it is that they're doing. If you have invested, you receive this report. And in this report is amazing things that if you're an owner and you didn't bring staff here with you, you owe it to your company to get someone assigned to become the connection between RIA and your organization, because there are resources that are going to help you raise prices, improve your margins, and work with TPAs and consultants on large losses. There's a lot of great stuff in this book. It is worth investing to at least get this book. I ask you to invest with intention. Please, before you leave today, the only way we can continue building this AGA program, getting Ed Cross in front of the people that need to represent us. Michael from IICRC said it perfectly. We need an advocate to stand for us. You big guys out there already have people in place. Us little guys need an advocate to represent us. And we are on the same stage as the Belfours, as the ATIs, as the Customs, as these monsters. We need to unify. So what I did is I brought a couple family members of our company down with me, and to encourage all of you to invest today, if for every $500 that you invest in the AGA, my staff brought a printer and some cool stuff, virtual cards. If any of you have them, they're the best. Forget bringing business cards to these types of events. With a virtual card that we can print out for you, all you need to do is touch somebody's phone and our contact info will show up on your phone. You don't need to exchange information, and many of you know, you collect cards and you put them in your pockets and then you end up throwing them away. So if you really want to connect with someone, virtual cards are a gift that we would like to encourage you. For a $500 investment, we'll print you out 2 cards, the most expensive virtual card you'll ever get. But at the very least, it encourages you to invest with us. So please invest with intention during the event. Thank you.
Warner, thank you for that. As I mentioned, we also have Dave Collier, and he's kind of like a Southern Baptist pastor. So just don't go 50 minutes right now. But we're live. Please welcome Dave Collier. Dave's also been very helpful to us in getting the word out. He's got a few words for you as well.
Just looking at the picture up there, you can guess which one of us is Irish. This is something I'm passionate about, and every one of you guys should be passionate about too. Now, Warner told me, he said, you're a lot older than I am, so I need you to appeal to the older guys in the room. But there's actually a lot of younger people in here too. I've been doing this for 30 years, and RIA has been a great resource. And we've taken a lot of ideas, and every one of us are here today because we're working on the company. So you're here today, work not in your company, but on your company. And when you work on your company, you're working for the future. You want to improve your gross margins. You want to improve your net margins. Anybody in here looking to leave with some ideas to improve their gross and net margin? Yeah, I mean, everybody would raise their hand, of course. And right now, this investment and 2 years ago in Phoenix, when I saw this, it was finally, something's happening, finally. Now, I know Mark, and I know what he's capable of, and I know we've all seen what has been happening. And that's why it wasn't about just being the first. It was about, I want to be part of this. This is something that is going to make a difference. And, you know, Howard talks about the power of one. Well, I was talking to one of the larger franchisors earlier today and said, you know, this is at least a 1%. All we're doing is adjusting prices to current pricing, and there's the 1% right there. This is investment, and it's a good investment. Every one of us here is going to be able to leave and become better. Last year, and I heard from that franchisor, it could have been 5 or 10% increase. And what that is, it's not increasing, and we're not milking anybody. It's just current. And when we're talking about whatever Brother Ed here had, and I don't know what he had for breakfast. Like I said, I want the same thing. Whatever he had to say, all of the work that's been going into it, what Katie has done over the past year is incredible. And Josh Hobbs, speaking of evangelism, is your new investment chair. Now, Ed asked me a year ago in March, in the beginning of March, would you chair the investment committee for AGA in March of 2020? Now, what I found is in 2020, everybody was holding on to their wallets. Nobody knew what happened. But a lot of you guys I know have some PPP money that we need to bring. It's been forgiven here recently, and we need part of that. So I would challenge you. I'm not as sophisticated as my brother Warner over here. For every $500 you give, I'll give you a hug. That's about as sophisticated as I am. And I'll give you a hug, because we can hug now. Now, Josh, he might give you a hug too, but he is in charge. So he challenged me last night. He said, hey, this is me. I'm taking over now, and I need $5,000. So he got it, and he tried to get some money from the rest of the table. And I'd like to call out Dave Bonanno of Fire Service, who refused to give the $5,000. And he's a bigger company than I am. So all I'm doing tonight is asking you to give no more. I'm just one of the little guys. You know, I'm one of the ones that, you know, everybody's in here selling, and I'm not selling because I'm hard-headed. And that's something. So Jean Greenberg was here. She asked me last night, are you ready to sell? And the answer is no. But I tell you, I want to make sure we have a lot of membership in RIA, and I don't want to come back in 5 years and only like 6 members. That's 600 people in the room. But this is actually something you can invest on. All joking aside, this is something that I want Josh here. I want to support him as much as I can, because this money will come back in this industry consolidation. We're not competitors here today. We're all here together fighting the same fight. And I don't consider competitors, and at home they know this is what I talk about. We do a good job, and you do it right, you do it with the right spirit, and you do it with the right attitude, and you'll have all the work. It's all about capacity, and hiring is one of those words. So please, tonight and today, invest. You can all come forward. We have altar call here if you want to do Southern Baptist or something. Y'all come forward. Everybody bring your wallets, and we can make a difference in this industry in the next year. So let's do this. Everybody, don't leave here without giving Josh your credit card number. So can you guys shut the doors?
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Get the chains across those doors right now. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Warner. You guys are great. So you can see why I didn't want to do that. But hey, here's what we've said. $100 per $1 million of revenue. If everyone gave us, if you're doing $1 million of revenue, if you can give us $100, we can change the industry. And we have so many companies here who've given way, way, way more than 100 per million. You $5 million company, $500. And there is no altar call. We don't check balance sheets or P&Ls. We just say, come be a part of what we're doing, because it's making a huge difference. You know, in my business, a 5% change when Xactimate told us that our involvement with them has impacted their methodology, and they went back to look at how labor rates are calculated, and 5%, that 100 out of every million is nothing. Okay, so come with us. We need your help. We need your support. As we start thinking about what is the next frontier, Mike already kind of hinted a little bit to that. We've got some big things coming in this industry. And listen, we don't want your money just to have your money. We want your investment so that we can help change the industry. And it's about to get expensive, folks, because already we have seen in state legislatures that there is going to be legislation that impacts our industry. We've already seen it happen this last year. There is going to be bills introduced in a legislature close to you that is going to be placed under the guise of consumer protection, and it's going to limit how you are able to contract with your customer. Now, me personally, I don't want to get caught in a reactive mode to that. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to see these issues, anticipate these issues, and speak on your behalf. And some of the next steps that we need your investment for to step into as we are now to the last step of our AGA Blueprint, the legislative process, is that we've got to start to organize this association in a way that we can deal with these issues. And I want to first welcome Mitch Heitman, who's going to talk to you about what our board is moving toward, what we are going to be implementing here over likely the next year to connect all of you at the local level with us. Mitch, I want to hand you, Mitch is with First On Site. You guys, a lot of you guys know David Heitman. Mitch is even more impressive than David, who's pretty impressive. He's new to our board. Mitch is doing a great job. Mitch, we're glad to have you. Tell everyone what we're working on for their behalf.
Well, thank you, Mark. Absolutely. So I've grown up in the restoration industry, and in that very short amount of time, I've already witnessed a lot of change. I spoke to Mark after joining the board and discussed all the great initiatives that the RA is currently doing. Very impressive. And I continued thinking about it after that discussion and realized all the challenges that we face in this industry on a day-to-day basis. I've performed work all over the country and know that somebody in Florida is facing a lot different challenges than somebody in California or myself in Illinois. I've also realized that during the pandemic, if you speak up in a Zoom meeting, more than likely you're going to get assigned to that idea and to lead that charge. And somehow with Mark and Sam Bergman, my dad, if I so much as make eye contact with him, I'm getting told to do something. That's why we're currently working on a new concept for regional focus groups throughout the country that would band us together a little bit more as an industry. I think there's some key items to make this successful. Elected leadership per region, set agendas for quarterly meetings, roundtable open discussions, and to bring up any items that could use some association resources. With the world of Zoom, it would be little to no cost to the participating companies, and it would empower members to empower members with easier ways to communicate with the association and their peers. This would also form an easier way to broadcast all the new RIA initiatives throughout the country, and it would allow networking with local contractors. Currently, we are looking for feedback on this concept, and if there are any volunteers to join the committee, please reach out to me offline, and I'd be happy to work with you. Thank you very much.
So great when we have guys like Mitch. He saw that this is something that would help the association. I said, all right, Mitch, here's always the ask. I always ask people, all right, are you willing to help us with this idea? Mitch brought back a multi-step plan, a regional map, and you can see on this regional map how we've looked at a potential way that the regions may organize. And again, this is so critical because as we organize and we end up with issues, Mitch already said, the issue that we have in a legislature in Florida is going to be different than a legislature in Idaho or Montana. And so what we want to know here is, if you were in one of these, which region would you be in? So go on to Slido. We're going to leave this survey up because we're going to use, again, your feedback to figure out where this is. Our last person to speak with us now is Matt Preston. Matt has an incredible background, one that has been so valuable to RIA. He's the general counsel for Servpro, senior vice president at Servpro, and his background is very relevant to us today. And so please help me welcome Matt Preston, and he's going to tell us a little bit about some of the ways he has seen trade associations impact their industries. Matt, thank you. Yeah, we got to get you a microphone.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate the introduction. First, I want to say congratulations on 75 years. That's huge. Servpro turned 50 2 years ago, and I thought that was old. So you got us beat by quite a distance. I want to talk to you today very shortly, but I want to provide one very simple message, and that's going to be around the power and impact of an engaged trade association, because it's incredible. It can do great things for the restoration industry. But let me digress a little bit and tell you where I came from and how I got here. First, I'm Chief Legal Officer at Servpro Industries, the franchisor in Nashville, Tennessee. I joined about 9 years ago. I came out of the restaurant industry, so I knew nothing about restoration. I tell my restaurant friends, you don't know anything about complexity until you come to restoration. I don't know how you all do it. This is a hard business to be in and to run, so congratulations for doing that. In my role, I'm responsible for all legal and risk and compliance, but I'm also responsible for all of the government relations, government affairs, and regulatory matters across all 50 states and federally. So we get a pretty good look of what's going on out there, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but as Mark has said and others have said, we are at a very important inflection point in our industry because we are going to be regulated, so let's get out in front of it, right? I know about trade associations because before I came to Servpro, I was at Yum Brands. We own Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC. And there I had the opportunity to engage with some very mature, well-funded, and engaged trade associations, primarily the National Restaurant Association, which is a powerful political force across the country. So I saw what it could do. When I arrived at Servpro, one of the first questions I asked is, where's the trade association? And I had some discussions initially with RIA, but at that point, they weren't nearly where they are right now. Very good people, very well-intentioned, but they didn't have a whole lot of focus, to be very candid. So I watched it. My people on my government affairs staff talked to them. We liaised for years and years, and I'm really pleased to see what's happened here now, right? A strong, engaged trade association is a powerful tool, both to protect and to advance the interests of the industries. And those are two very important points there, right? The protection piece, but the advancement piece is every bit as important. The progress I've seen, I think, over the last 2 to 3 years has been nothing short of remarkable with the RIA, with Mark and Katie and Christy and the leadership team. If I can say one thing about that team, they are bright, they're engaged, and they're forward-looking. They're always looking to see what's coming 5 waves ahead of the boat, which is awfully important in what we do. So at Servpro, we're blessed in that we have about 2,000 franchises, so we see just about everything that's happening in the industry, and we talk to a lot of people, right? Whether it's from an operational standpoint, a legal standpoint, a government affairs standpoint, we try to stay on top of all of it. We see a lot of the risks and opportunities that are out there that you all see every day. In a moment, I'm going to run through some of those because I think, as I said before, we're at a very important inflection point here, understanding, recognizing, and responding to some of these opportunities and challenges that are coming in front of us. We're all part, and this is an important thing, we're all part of the same restoration ecosystem in this room, right? Whether you're an independent, whether you're part of a franchise system, whether you're small, whether you're big, whether you're a single unit, whether you're a multiple unit, whether you're in one city or in multiple cities, we're all seeing the same things to varying degrees. So just let me take what's left here, maybe in the next 2 to 3 minutes, and talk in really no particular order of what I think the challenges and opportunities for the industry are going forward. And first, it was said earlier on, the buzzword is consolidation. We are still a highly fragmented industry, right? We just went through an acquisition by the Blackstone Group about 2.5 years ago, private equity. For us, it's been a wonderful experience. We picked right, great resources, great people, and really enjoying the ride. But you got to be real careful because as we see this continued consolidation out there, many of you are going to be approached with the opportunity. So be vigilant and be on the lookout for that, right? We're seeing that across the independents and the franchise systems. You look at franchise systems and the impact of private equity, Servpro, ServiceMaster, Balfour, right? You got Cotton, you have Interstate, now First Onsite, all have been involved in private equity transactions in the last 5 years. That's a remarkable development for our industry. And we're seeing many of the independents out there, I call it a roll-up, consolidating across the country. So the face of our industry is changing dramatically, right? And this is going to have a profound impact on the business dynamics and competition out there over the next 5 years. I'm not sure I know exactly what that is yet, but we're already seeing a fair amount of impact. Another area that we're seeing An impact is the rise of the full service model with the insurance carrier clients. So you're all seeing that. When I joined this industry 9 years ago, there was a Chinese wall with many of the carriers. They said you do the water, MIT, or you do the recon, but you don't do both. Well, I think they're seeing the customer satisfaction points and opportunities that are out there. So we're seeing program after program being launched that are full service. That brings a fair amount of challenges, right? Because if you're doing the mitigation, you're in, you're out. Pretty easy to satisfy the customer in most cases. But if you're doing full service, you're there for a long period of time, and it presents challenges from a customer satisfaction standpoint that we didn't used to see. Another area, I call it the rise of technology. It's huge. Just walk through the expo center down there and look at all the vendors in the technology application area and ask yourself, were they here 10 years ago? I'd guess probably not. We're seeing it, right? As numerous and many insurance carrier clients are working to become more efficient in their operations, they're shifting a lot of what they used to do into the hands of others, to TPAs and the like, and a lot of that is technology driven. We're seeing technology at the front end, we're seeing it in the middle, and we're seeing it at the end through the audit programs. And this is just going to continue in my view, right? So you got to get really good at this, understand the issues and the challenges, and where the opportunities are here to do it right. Another area that, and Michael Dudek from ICRC, thank you for teeing this one up for me, is regulation. We are not a highly regulated industry right now, but we're at the cusp of being one, especially at the state and local level. I don't think the threats are really there at the federal level at this point, but state and local, we're seeing the consumer advocacy, consumer protection laws starting to come up. We're seeing all sorts of heightened licensing and regulatory requirements at the local levels. We're seeing, Servpro does a lot of storm response in 50 states, so I get the opportunity to look across a lot of states. And I can tell you in the last 5 years, the level of authority with some of these local individuals has gone up dramatically. So expect that to continue. So we need to be, as an industry, one voice and being proactive, not reactive in this area, because if you're reactive, you're going to wake up one day and realize you become regulated and there's not much you can do about it. Another area I think is an opportunity for many. We're just going to continue to see storms, I suspect. Already I saw a report from our meteorologist the other day that there's 2 lined up in the Atlantic right now, and who knows? I can't predict accurately. But it's all about capacity management, because I can tell you that that polar vortex, that freeze event was tough. It was a heck of an opportunity, but it was tough. I think for many that I've talked to, presented a lot of challenges, and I don't think that's going to go away in the future. And then the final area I'm going to talk about is the whole supply chain, right, and pricing. It's both labor and materials. And this is an area where I think we have seen real, tangible impact in the AGA. There is no doubt in my mind that we've seen a positive price impact across the country from Exact, in large part due to the efforts of the AGA and what's now becoming more realistic pricing. But a lot of that was labor, because that was the focus. Now the focus needs to be on the materials basket, right? Because you've all seen what's happening to materials, especially building materials. That is something we're really excited about. And that's why we're excited at Servpro to partner with the RIA moving forward to talk as one voice as an industry. So if I could just leave you with one thought, we're going to continue to face increasing challenging business environment out there. And the importance of having a strong trade association will only increase. Please, you continue to support your RIA and be actively engaged where necessary. There's only all in and there's not in at all. There's nothing in the middle here, unfortunately, especially in the area of advocacy. Remember, you are all part of the voice of the restoration industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone here. We are out of time. We had obviously a ton of content to fit in that session. I want to be respectful of our next session. What time does our next session begin, Christy? In 3 minutes. So, a good thing Warner's already up here. Jeff and Gary can make their way up. If we have a very, very, very quick break. I'm sorry, we are not going to have time for Q&A, folks, but here's what we're going to do. The last time we had a town hall, we get all these questions. We value these questions. They prompt our thinking. And we will host an industry briefing where we build a panel of these folks and we answer your questions here in just a few weeks. We'll do that on Facebook Live. So no time for Q&A. Very quick break. Be back here as soon as we can. We'll get back on schedule. Sorry, Christy. Thank you all for your support. You guys are amazing. You made it.